Hello friends and newcomers, Crazy Hawk 99 here. Most of you will recognize me mostly for guns and gun related content if you follow my channel or if you're a YouTube subscriber. That's primarily what I do. But as passionate I am about guns, I'm as much so about motorcycles, and they both share some common traits. There's an inherent risk with both of them, and there's a great deal of responsibility with both of them. So sadly, the reason I'm doing this video, or one of the reasons, is probably my most avid YouTube subscriber, who's also a friend of mine, died a month or so ago on a motorcycle. And I don't know that any advice I could have given him would have made a difference, but I thought I would do a video that a lot of people will probably roll their eyes at, but if one person doesn't and maybe gives them pause to think a little bit about what they're doing or how they're doing it, then it'll be worth it. I don't really care how many people scoff or laugh. At the end of the day, you want to live to ride another day. So this, I don't give my bikes real names, but I give them nicknames. This one I call the Green Menace. Hadn't ridden this bike in 2 years, so I got it out about less than a week ago and went out for the first ride, and I will guarantee you that I gave it the due respect that it deserves, as you should any bike, but a sport bike particularly, because for some reason when you get on a sport bike, and I've been riding my whole life, but when you get on a sport bike, something inside your head says, I gotta amp it up a little bit. Whereas if I'm getting on this, the big sexy, I just flat chill, and you know, still have a little fun in the twisties, but really it's about the ride and just enjoying the scenery. Same thing with the Big Ugly, or I like to call it the Ginsu knife. Doesn't matter which one you're on, there's risk involved. And I want to talk a little bit to that, not necessarily specific risk, but more to the mindset. If you're a Friends fan, maybe Unabi. Who I am, like I said, you guys know me as Crazy Hawk 99. If you're watching this, that's my label. I'm a lifelong motorcycle rider. I just turned 60 this year. My first licensed vehicle when I was 16 was a motorcycle. That's how I got around until it was stolen. You know, I got in cars, out of bikes for a few years. But even before that licensed motorcycle, I grew up on little 3.5, 5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton mini bikes, and then on to a KE 100 Kawasaki. So I've been riding quite a bit for a long time. But I'm never afraid to learn as I go. And I learned the most, oh heck, I don't know when it was, probably now going on 15 plus years ago, when I was in the Army stationed in Europe. I volunteered to be a Motorcycle Safety Foundation rider coach to administer training to the service members. And that's when my learning began, because I felt like I couldn't teach unless I really understood it. I don't believe in just do as I say and that's the end of it. I think you should be able to explain why you're telling somebody how to specifically do something. So I really dug into watching videos and reading books. I've got a whole library full of motorcycle safety books. It doesn't make you an expert, but it definitely, if you're an open-minded person, it makes you think about it. So that's who I am, and why I'm doing it, like I already touched on, is a very good friend of mine died in an accident not long ago, very recently, just short of his 30th birthday. A great individual, great young man, not that young, but medium age, but just a super person. And I'm not going to go into specifics because frankly I don't know the specifics, but his father did share with me that there was another car involved, and speed of the motorcycle was a contributing factor. That's about the extent of the detail I know, and that's not an uncommon finding in accidents regarding motorcycles, whether it's a single vehicle accident or multi-vehicle. So I want to talk a little bit about not that incident, but about that in general. So I've got a saying that through my aviation career that I use. I don't know if I've had this saying so long, I don't know if I came up with it, if I stole it from somebody. So if I stole it from you, I apologize. But my saying is, when I'm doing something, there's a potential risk involved, whether it's working with power tools, riding a motorcycle, flying an airplane or a helicopter, you name it, I try to tell myself multiple times throughout that event, it doesn't take much to have a bad day. And what I mean by that, hopefully it's self-explanatory, but what I mean by that is you're riding along fat, dumb, and happy. Next thing you know, you're not riding along fat, dumb, and happy. Something's happened. So just keep that in mind. A lot of stuff can go wrong. It shouldn't take the joy away. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to be riding. But there's some, in that it doesn't take much to have a bad day. I will tap into that and go further and say, when you're on two wheels, you got to be better than you are when you're in a car with four wheels. You got to be at your best. You got to get it all right. So that starts before you get on the bike. You really need to be taking a look at your bike. If you haven't within the last few days, you want to take an eyeball at your tires to make sure there's no gashes or slits in them, or the tread is bare. Had a friend that had a blowout on a big Harley a couple months back, doing 80 plus going down the interstate. He had a rear blowout. And I'm gonna tell you, if you have a blowout on a motorcycle on the rear, you're lucky if you survive it. Or if you not survive it, but if you don't at least crash. He was able to keep it upright on the street. And it was a contributing factor that the tire was bald, okay? Probably underinflated as well. If it's a front tire and you have a blowout, you're not saving. End of story. You're going to go down. I don't know how bad you're going to get hurt, but you're going to go down. So take a look at your tires. Take a look at the general condition of your bike. Here's the thing about motorcycle tires as far as pressure goes. If it looks low, it's flat. It takes very little pressure for the tire to look low. If the tire calls for 34 PSI, if it has 20 in it, you won't be able to tell by looking at the tire. It'll look like it's got enough in it, but it won't handle the same by any stretch. And the number one cause of blowouts is low tire pressure, because the sidewall that supports the tire, or supports the bike, flexes more because it's low. Anyway, I won't dally on that, but take a look at your bike. That's number one. Wear the right gear. There's a saying, all the gear, all the time. That means different things to different people. I got that. But at a minimum, you should be wearing a helmet and gloves. Why? Well, you're melon. It's the most fragile part of your body, probably, right? I think that's undisputable. Your hands. You use your hands for everything you do, whether it's picking your nose or picking a guitar or you name it, writing with a pencil. And if you get road rash, if you go down with no gloves on, your hands are going to take it, because just if you have any reaction whatsoever, it's going to be put your arms and hands out. And if you've ever heard any horror stories about road rash, whether it's on the arms or the legs or the torso or whatever, or the hands, and how it's treated, that'll make you want to wear the gear, because the agony you'll go through for months while they clean that wound daily to get the grit out of it. And that's beside the fact you won't be able to flex your hands until they heal up completely. So wear the gear, proper footwear. I like to wear long pants at a minimum. Sometimes I even wear overpants. I wear a jacket most all the time. You just saw where it's jacket there. It's a little warm today. It's not too warm. There's vented jackets out there. It helps out a lot. So wear the gear. What else? You got to get it all right. In a car, if you're not paying attention, or you're thinking about something else, or you're fidgeting with, maybe you've got a GPS or a phone hooked up to your bike, you're fidgeting with that. In a car, if you drop a tire off the edge of the road for a second and come back off, as long as you don't overreact, not a big deal. It's going to get your attention and probably, heart skip a little bit. But in a bike, if you do that, you're not saving it. You're going in the ditch. I'm not trying to be negative, but if you drop a wheel off the side of the road on a bike, you're going in the ditch. What else? Construction. Right now, one of the main roads here in our local area, they're resurfacing it. So when they resurface it, they take the machine and they grind off the asphalt, and they do it a lane at a time. And typically that other lane it depends, inch to a couple inches in different height. So if you're going from the high to the low, not a huge deal. That's, you got to be on your game, but it's not a big deal. If you're going from the low pavement to the high pavement, that's going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly quick, particularly if you don't know what's coming. So you got to pay attention to the construction sign. A good friend of mine, probably about 2 years ago now, he totaled a big Harley or a big Indian because they didn't have proper signage up. So that's on them. And he had to merge onto, his lane was going away rapidly. It just so happened he was on the low asphalt where the high asphalt hadn't been ground down yet, totaled his Indian. Luckily he wasn't badly hurt, but that's a prime example. You got to get it right. Following cars. I see bikes all the time practically tailgating a car in front of them. That's probably one of the easiest ways to get hurt, because I don't care if you've got ABS. This does, this doesn't, this doesn't. An ABS, a bike with ABS, almost all cars have ABS now. It's more prevalent on a car for a longer period of time than it has been on bikes. So pretty much all the cars out there are going to have ABS. But even if they don't, and you do have ABS, if you don't for sure, and that car has to stop in a hurry, you're going to hit them if you're following too close. No question about it. Because by the time you react and apply your brakes, and by the way, your brakes aren't as strong on a bike as they are on a car, because your contact patch on the tires is so dang tiny, and they got 4 tires and they're big tires. So the cars are going to stop a lot faster. He's already a step ahead of you in the thought process. He already started his before you even realize it was happening. You're behind the power curve. Follow back further away. You got to get it right all the time. Blind spots. You can't avoid passing through a blind spot when you're on a bike on a cross. Don't dally. Get out of that blind spot. Either drop back or go forward. If you can't clearly see that driver in his rear view mirror or his side mirror, he can't see you. And I don't even like to ride next to a car very long if I don't have to, even if I'm riding right beside him, because he might forget you're there if you don't, for whatever reason, and just change lanes. He might check his mirrors, who knows. There's just so much to consider. I should have made a list up, but my point is you gotta get it all right on a bike. There's just not that much room for error when it comes to the chips falling. I don't really have a closing. I really just wanted to put that out there, hoping it gets through to one person, hopefully more. But I may very well do a few more videos more specific to a particular topic, like riding gear, or what's important to check on your bike. You should know, if you've been to a rider safety training, that's one of the things that they're supposed to cover. They typically do, but we often push that aside, or whether it be just the mentality while you're out there. But have a safety-oriented mentality. There's a saying, dress for the ride, or dress for the crash, not for the ride. And what that means is it's hot out, so maybe I want to wear shorts and a t-shirt. It baffles me when people wear shorts, because crash aside, the heat off of an engine just roasts your leg. But that's to each their own. I'm not telling you how to dress, what to wear. What I'm saying is put some thought into it. Put some thought into what you're wearing and why you're wearing it. If you're not wearing a jacket because it's hot out, I would say that's not a good reason, because they have great jackets now that are ventilated, perforated and ventilated. I wear them all the time. And believe it or not, you're cooler when you're moving with that than you are if you just were wearing t-shirts, because the sun's not baking directly down on your skin. Any sweat you have, when the air blows through the jacket, it actually cools you off. I know that doesn't sound right, but you'll have to take my word for it until you try it. That's all I've got for now. CrazyHawk99. Drop a comment if you want to see more of this. Set me straight if you want to do that. Again, I'm not telling you how to ride. Man, it's a brotherhood out there. That's why we wave at each other. Heck, even Harley riders are waving now for this. They're not a 3%er or something like that. They're I guess it's a 1%er. 3%er is a Patriot thing. If the Harley guys are not 1%ers, they're probably going to wave at you anyway. Heck, even scooters will wave every once in a while. But we're a brotherhood, and we should be looking out for each other. And I want to be riding with you all as long as possible. Even if we get it all right, our riding days are numbered. When we get older, we're just not going to be able to do it anymore. That's the reality of it. That's why we want to enjoy it as long as we can. So that's all I've got. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to watch, and hope to see you on the road. Stay safe.